In this lesson, let's go ahead and talk about auto-scaling and load balancers. Let's go ahead and draw some pictorial diagrams on this board and understand this better. What we learned about so far is a VPC, right? So a VPC may have its own CIDR block as well. Let's say the CIDR block of our VPC is 192.168.0.0/16. Now I'm assigning a very large network. You know that there's about 65,000 IP addresses there. Now within this, we're going to have multiple subnets. Now this is a subnet that is there in, let's say, AZ1, and there's another subnet which is in AZ2. Both of them are in two different availability zones. Now let's also consider that there is a virtual machine right here. This is your EC2 instance. Okay, regardless, Windows or Linux, it doesn't matter. So it's your EC2 instance. Okay, and now what you have is a load balancer. Now considering that both of these EC2 instances are web servers, and you would like to make sure that when the traffic comes from external world, so this is your cloud or your ISP, so when the traffic gets in, it should go through a load balancer. I'm just going to call it as ELB, which stands for Elastic Load Balancer. Now when the traffic goes in, the job of the Elastic Load Balancer is to go ahead and distribute the load to these EC2 instances. So the first traffic goes right in there, and the second traffic goes to the second EC2 instance. The first one is here, second one is here. And then it's going to go in a round robin fashion alternatively. Of course, it depends how we have configured on the load balancer. Now there is another concept called as auto scaling. And what that means is that, let's say the end user right here is really happy with your website, and he sends that web application to several of his friends. And now the traffic is originated from multiple locations, and let's say each of these users equal to 100 users, and now you have 300 users. So what's happening in the backend is there's a lot of CPU and memory being consumed on these EC2 instances, and you would like to automatically scale and come back to original state as well when there is no load. Now at this point we got a lot of load, so I want this EC2 instance to become more powerful. Let's say now we have 3 EC2 instances behind the load balancer. CPU goes high, about 80% or 90%, the users will be really unhappy with what's going on, right? So that's why we should have the backend ready so that these EC2 instances get spin up as and when there is load. And when the sale period is over, or let's say the users are no longer accessing it, we get back to the original state of 2 instances. That's what auto scaling is. The term itself says it automatically scales based on certain threshold, and that threshold can be CPU, memory, disk IOPS, which you can go ahead and set it up from the AWS console. Just to repeat, Elastic Load Balancer is about distributing the traffic between multiple EC2 instances across availability zones in the same region, whereas auto scaling is about creating new EC2 instances as and when the threshold breaches. So CPU goes above a certain number, memory goes above a certain number, you will have more EC2 instances created. So there is horizontal scaling, right? So it scales out and scales in. It scales out when it needs more resources because of more number of users hitting that load balancer, and it scales back in because users are no longer accessing that web application. Let's go ahead and take a look at this in action on the AWS console. Thank you.